Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have a fantastic webinar today so you can learn about how to overcome the limitations of platform search. I'm Lucy Tate, Regional Sales Director here at SLI Systems, and I've found many e-com retailers who have challenges with building out search themselves or using platform search. So I'm really excited to be speaking with Joshua Van Tongeren, Assistant Marketing Manager from Koorong today, as we're going to discuss his journey to improve his e-com site, what common problems he overcame, and the amazing results he was able to achieve. Joshua, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we've got 45 minutes today. Might even cover this off in 30, but we're going to learn more about Koorong, Josh's journey towards an improved search and overall website experience, the business results he was able to achieve, and finally, I'll share a link to an awesome checklist so you can evaluate your own e-commerce site at the end of the webinar. So, Joshua, thanks again for joining me. Can you tell me a bit more about Koorong?
Sure, Lucy. So Koorong is a company that is a retailer in Australia. It began over 40 years ago as a family-run company in Koorong Street near Sydney. And it's basically a retailer that looks after the Christian resource market here in Australia. We have over 15 stores and an online e-commerce store set up, and we're owned by the Bible Society Australia, and our profits go to support of Bible Society Australia's activities here in Australia for Bible translation, distribution and engagement both here in Australia and around the world.
Fantastic. And how long have you had the e-commerce site for?
We've had it for quite a time. I think it's been since 1999, so very much near the beginning of the web. It's been quite a journey since then.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy how much the web's changed since then. If you have a look at the old site, it's pretty archaic. But yeah, there's been a number of iterations since.
Great. And when did you realise there was a problem with the search or other areas of the site and needed to fix it?
Well, when I came on 3 years ago, there was constant feedback from different parts of the business about search, and people coming in saying, "Oh, could you please fix this or fix that?" A search term that wasn't working or bringing up products as it was expected to. We had a few staff members saying this, but then as we developed more feedback with customers, we discovered that they were not having a great experience either. So it was coming from all sides, and we basically demanded a response to the issue.
I see. And what would have happened if you didn't fix the site search or other areas of your site?
Well, we would have had a continued bad experience, to be honest. It was not looking good, especially with a lot of search technology changing with other commerce operators. In the book industry, there's been a lot of technology changes that have forced operators out of the market, and so we had to keep up to ensure that customers are getting what they expect. So we found that it would impact the revenue of the site, and it's also affecting in-store as well. So we had the issue of people coming onto the website, checking out product on the site, and then going in store and not being able to find it. And we just knew that it would in fact influence both the online and in-store experience.
That's right, and that's so true, because what happens online affects in-store and vice versa. Because you were building out the search yourself with Solr, weren't you? So
that's right, yeah.
And
we
so
had.
Oh, go on.
No, we were using Solr, and Solar is an open source search platform, which doesn't really work too well unless you have a lot of time on, with development.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it started out as being an issue with recommendations on the website. So we had issues with people trying to find, relevant recommendations on the products that they're looking at. And because we have over 305,000 product SKUs on the system, you can imagine it would be quite complex trying to find the right recommendation for the right product. And it wasn't very intuitive. So yeah, it created a bit of issues. So we had to go to the management and explain the problems that we were having. And so we looked at things like keyword searches and how they operated. Unfortunately, Solar looks at each term that you put into the system rather than the phrase. So little things like that, add up. You can't merchandise properly. There's duplicates in the system, all sorts of things.
And
so yeah.
Oh no, carry on.
It's okay. I just talk a lot, so I'm just wondering where I should stop.
No,
yes,
it's all helpful.
Very good. So we had issues like product visibility on search. There was category pages that had the same problem as well. So it wasn't just the search. We had issues on the category pages and having visibility. As a retailer, we're always concerned about visual merchandising. And most retailers understand that in an in-store experience, but we don't really look at the online very well. And so on category pages, there was whole swaths of product that just weren't visible to the customer. And yes, it wasn't a true representation of all the products that we had on hand. And then there were other issues like relevancy as well of search terms. That was a constant problem. And redirects, we couldn't even do that. So, if we wanted to have a search term like Bibles, for example, a very common term, we couldn't redirect to the Bibles category page. So there's a whole bunch of things that, were creating pain points and yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot, and a lot of dev resources required to try and fix it. And I suppose that's why you started to go about and search for a solution to overcome all these problems. So how did you go about searching for a solution? I remember you told me you started off searching on Google.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you're going to look for search, why don't you look on the biggest search platform in the world?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I had no idea, I didn't really know much about search technology, and so we just started looking around, and there's a huge amount of different search operators out there, and we just created a list. But first of all, I mean, we actually identified all the issues that we had with our current system, and and kind of identified for us the pain points before we started looking. So the ones I mentioned to you, of course, but also just looking at the opportunity costs of fixing Solar as well, to try and work out the kinks. And we just realized that the development time was insane. And we couldn't, implement some of the new technologies that were coming out, like machine learning and, predictive intelligence, all that kind of stuff we just didn't have. So, before we looked at the list, we did that, and then once we had that, we created a list of all the different operators out there, and then we narrowed them down to 4 different operators that we felt suited our needs. So we looked and we saw there was common features, in the search provider landscape, and so we wanted things like visual merchandising, the ability to control what's in front of people, while respecting the algorithm's ability to, bring the right thing in front of people at the right time. Synonyms was a big one for us. Behavioral reporting, so actually having the ability to see what people were doing in regards to search rather than just knowing what's being searched. upsells, cross-sells, the usual things around retail, recommendations, and the ability to redirect, and also, of course, personalize the search experience for each user. So they're the things that we were looking for. And then I guess when we looked at that, we went, okay, this is solving problems for the customer. This is some of the things that we wanted to do. We wanted to also reduce some of the server load as well. So some of the tech side of it had to be looked at. So we wanted to ensure that there was a smooth tech experience that supported the business solution. With this kind of thing, everyone wants to promise the world, and unless the technology supports the business solution, it can be a real problem. So that was of interest to us when we were looking at operators.
Mm.
So yeah, after all that research, we started looking around seriously. So some of the things that we looked at were we looked at both Australian and overseas providers too.
Right.
We were really happy to go with anything that really suited our needs. It was just trying to find the right person. So we looked at people like Nextopia, SearchSpring, Attract, and SLI, of course, and a number of others. So yeah, it was quite extensive. It took a while, but it was worth it.
Yeah, quite a few there. You definitely did your research.
Yes, we certainly peppered you guys with questions as well in that process.
I do remember. So, why SLI, and what solutions did you move forward with SLI?
Yeah, sure. I think for us, we liked the fact that you guys were really helpful in the pre-sale period. You really helped us with answering our questions. The things that we looked at, which we appreciated about the product from the get-go, was the learning search, with the rich autocomplete. That was really helpful. It answers a few things that we were looking for. The personalization aspect of it, and the learning navigation, which supports the search, as well as the learning recommendations. So they're the things that we had. And of course, the reporting console on the back end was really rich with reports. I remember you guys showing us the rundown, and there was just an absurd amount of reporting ability, which is always helpful. It doesn't mean I look at every report, but but it certainly gave me flexibility, and that was really good. So we needed someone who we could trust and rely upon, and I guess that really comes out, I feel, in the pre-sale discussion. Before you even touch the demo. And you guys were very helpful in giving some expertise and some insights into the space. And we like the fact that you guys were in Australia. It just means that support feels local, and that we're not calling some call center in India and not getting a timely response, or a response that actually helps us. So that was really helpful for us.
That's great.
Yeah. But I think one of the other things too, we were looking at Attract quite carefully as well, being a new operator in the market, and they've got a great search. But for us, one of the big things with SLI was that the visual merchandising was, you gave a level of automation that allowed us not to be, not too hands-on, because we didn't want to have to, be too manual with it. So you give a lot of flexibility that way. I can be as granular with my merchandising as I like, or I can be as hands-off as I want as well. So that was also very attractive for us.
That's good. Comes in handy when you have about 300,000 SKUs. Can't be manually.
Absolutely. I just can't. Yeah, I can't do everything, and so that's something that I really wanted to make sure is that we saved on time.
Mm-hmm.
And that we, that there is automation. We can't spend hours merchandising things. It's just impossible. So we can focus on what we need to focus on. We loved that. And we loved the fact that we could also do attribute-based merchandising. So we had a lot of rich data to assist that, which you guys leveraged in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So that really meant, we could really do some good stuff with that. And of course, your machine learning was awesome. You know, I think everyone talks about AI and machine learning, but you guys gave us some insight as to how your logic works, and it's really flexible, and there's ability to boost, new books and adjust the decay rate of search, and there's a bunch of things there that we thought were really helpful. And the fact that we could tailor our reporting too, which was awesome. So obviously there's lots of reports, but we could even auto send reports to key stakeholders in the business, which is a huge one. Like when you're implementing new technology, you want to ensure that people in the business are actually seeing the value of that. And so we've tied in our buyers into the key top 25 search results each week, and so they're getting an insight into their own buying behavior as well, just by seeing what people are doing. So that's pretty cool.
Amazing. That's great to hear. And so what results did you end up getting from moving, the search, category pages, recommendations across? What was the impact that you felt Koorong got from the move?
Yep. Yeah, sure. I guess for us it was pretty clear. I mean, we're looking for revenue, and so we saw straight after going live, we saw an increase in conversion rate, transaction quantities, and revenue for search and non-search users. So that was really, you could see an immediate uptick. So that was fantastic. So we got really excited, but obviously we look for longer term results as well. So I think from the Christmas New Year period, I think it was a 26% increase. So Christmas New Year period, we had 26% increase in transactions, and the conversion was up 33%, and our revenue was up 8%. So that's massive for us. Obviously with retailers, everyone knows, the Christmas trade makes or breaks you. And so when we had SLI kick in just before the Christmas trade, it was fantastic because it just really made that entire financial year a really positive one. And even in the mobile users side of it, because for us, mobile was really suffering before we used SLI. That alone was fantastic to see. We had a ridiculous increase. It was 112% increase on transactions, a 95% uptick on conversions, with a 33% increase in revenue. So it was, pretty impressive.
Very, very impressive.
We were, certainly made the CEO happy, that's for sure.
Exactly. And what I love is that we're going to keep working with you, and you've got your customer success manager who will work with you, and to continue to improve on these stats. So excited to see what we achieve this year.
Yeah. I mean, us marketers, we're never happy with growth just once. We want to continue to grow it. So
Exactly.
but yeah, I mean, it's been positive. There's a lot of room to grow into the system too, and I think that's what's really helpful to know, is that it wasn't just a one-off growth metric. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And so other than those stats, increase in revenue, conversion and all that, how has working with SLI impacted your business?
Well, significantly. I mean, 15% of our revenue is attributed directly to search. So, it was really amazing to work with a team that was very accommodating, even in the implementation phase. It was fantastic. You guys really came to the party. So for us, it's been a really great professional partnership. You've always felt supported in the process. And that's been really good. Like even after implementation, often you can have implementations where you don't hear from them after that. But you guys have been constantly checking in and making sure things are working well for us. So that's been always really good. And it's nice when something actually works. Yeah, I mean, everyone promises the world, and so when you implement something, there's a nervous, moment of like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Just before you go live. And I think, just what's been helpful is that you guys have spoken to us extensively beforehand and also after, and that's been really helpful for us as a business to, and we just feel like you guys are just part of it now. So it's really, really helpful.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. And that's what I like to think as well. We're an extension of your team. We're there to work with you. It's not set live and forget. We want to work with you and keep growing the business. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, like, the implementation itself was complex, with our setup, with over 305,000 SKUs and constantly, changing prices and, all sorts of things are going on all the time. It was really good. We kind of worked together on understanding the business logic and we got it done in a good time frame, which was really helpful.
That's great. So after all this, Josh, what advice would you give to others who are in the, e-com industry, who are facing the same challenges you were?
Well, I mean, the little advice I can provide, I guess, I would just say that, just keep a clear view of what the customer is experiencing to make the business case. So, like a lot of people with search or anything else, to be honest, of a tech nature, obviously look at the technology, but they unfortunately make a technology case in front of management. But really what's needed is a business case and how it's actually going to influence the customer. And we had a really strong case because right at the beginning, we looked at customers and actually what they were saying and actually documented it and showed the management team that there was a problem. So I think that is the first get-go. Make sure that happens. Research what with your customers and internally. Make sure you understand the problem. Don't just say that search is an issue. Actually understand why search is the issue. I really feel like the real issue is customer experience, and if they can't find the products they want, they just won't buy. So, I feel like retailers do it really well in store generally, and we need to be doing exactly the same online. So treat them the same.
Perfect. That's fantastic advice. Appreciate you sharing that.
No worries.
That about wraps it up. So thank you so much, Josh, for speaking with me today and sharing your journey. And it's quite a big one, but fantastic results in the end. I'm sure all those listening will appreciate that advice you've just given us. So thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you, Lucy.
And for everyone listening, I'd love to share with you this link to download our PAR checklist, which is performance, aesthetics, and relevance, where it gives you 14 best practices to analyze the key areas that matter most to your customers. So each element also provides some simple suggestions to help you improve, but it's a good start to help you identify some of the areas that Josh worked through before making some decisions to improve the site. So once again, thank you so much for joining, everyone. And if you do have any questions for myself or Josh, please feel free to send me an email at lucy.tate@sli-systems.com or give me a call. Have a great day. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.